This is the frequently asked questions video for Algebra 2 for Lesson 4.2, Day 1. First one I thought that maybe people might have a little trouble with involves the fractions here with number 22, where it just says graph each function. And so what we want to do is notice that this is in standard form, which again is the y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. And then remember that one of the most important features of a parabola is finding that vertex. That's the piece we really need. So we're going to have to use that formula, x equals negative b over 2a, in order to figure out where the x coordinate of the vertex is. So in this case, b is a negative 6, so x equals negative 6 divided by 2 times, and then we have that negative 3/4 as our a value. So the first thing you would do is figure out what 2 times negative 3/4 is, and you can do a little cross reducing here to get that. So that'll be negative 6 divided by negative 3/2. And then the next thing that we would do is just go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal. So negative 6 over 1 times negative 2 over 3. We have a negative and a negative that will make it a positive, and we can reduce a 3 out of both of the 6 and the 3. And so that will give us an x coordinate of the vertex of 4. And then what we need to do is we need to take that 4 and we need to plug it back in for x into both of those positions and see what we get. So doing it longhand, and yes, I realize lots of you are probably just going to grab your calculator, and you certainly can do that, but doing this longhand, I'll write all of this process out. So that would give us y equals negative 3/4 times 4 squared plus 6 times 4 plus 6. Well, 4 squared is 16, and 16 times negative 3/4 would give us 12. So y equals a negative 12. 6 times 4 is 24 plus 6. So negative 12 plus 24 is 12, and 12 plus 6 is 18. So our vertex is going to be at 4, 18, which tells me, I probably want to go by 2's with this graph. I look at A and I notice it is a negative, which means this is going to open down. So like I said, I think I would probably just make sure I'm going to go by 2's. I wouldn't necessarily have to go by 2's on both axes, so I will go ahead and keep my x axes going in intervals of 1, but then go by 2's on my y-axis. So vertex at 4, 18, right there. And then I need at least one more set of points, and it seems really basic here, but I'm just going to put 0 in, easiest number to work with. So negative 3/4 times 0 squared is 0, plus 6 times 0, which is 0. 0 plus 0 plus 6 is 6. So 0, 6. And then use that axis of symmetry. That is always a great thing to use here. And in this case, it would be x equals 4. And go equal but opposite on the other side of that line of symmetry. And that is a really good rendition of what that parabola is going to look like right there. So again, the fractions get a little messy. Use your calculator if you don't like to do them by hand, but we still need to figure out what that vertex is. And it's the same thing for number 24. So if this was number 22 that I did over here, I'll do number 24 over here. We have that x equals negative b over 2a to get us the vertex. So that'll be negative 2 over 2 times 1/2. And this one, of course, works out a little nicer because 2 times 1/2 is going to be 1. So we'll end up with negative 2. And again, we need to take that negative 2 and put it into our equation to see what we get. So negative 2 squared right here will be 4, and we will have half of 4, which is 2. And then we have 2 times negative 2, that'll give us negative 4, and then minus 8. So 2 minus 4 is negative 2, and negative 2 minus 8 is negative 10. And this one is going to open up, and this time I will be able to just go by 1's because my axes here go out 10 in each direction. So at negative 2, negative 10, I have my vertex. Again, I'm just going to throw a 0 in there and see what I get. So half of 0 squared is 0, plus 2 times 0 is 0, minus 8 is negative 8. So at 0, I'm at negative 8. Now, here's where my axis of symmetry is, right through here, right through x equals negative 2. And I have a point equal but opposite on the other side. Now that is not enough for me. As I look at that, I'm thinking I would really want at least one other set of points to figure out what's going on. So I might just throw in 1 and see how much different a 1 is. Chances are pretty good. I probably would have gone with at least 2, but I just want to show you what's going to happen here. So with a 1 squared, you'll get 1, and half of 1 is 1/2. 2 times 1 is 2, so we have 1/2 plus 2, which is 2.5, and then we have 2.5 minus 8. So if you're going to do it by hand, you're going to want to change that 2.5 into 5 halves, and that 8 into 16 halves. So we have 5 halves minus 16 halves, pardon me. So we have a negative 11 halves, or negative 4.5. So 1, 2, 3, 4.5, and equal but opposite on the other side. So that wouldn't be too bad. Like I said, I probably would have chosen 2 just to get a bigger spread, but this is working as well. I will go ahead and put in 2 to show you what I mean. If we squared 2, we would get this 4 again, and half of 4 is going to give us 2, plus 2 times 2 is 4, minus 8. So we have 6 minus 8, which is a negative 2. And I would have felt much more comfortable with this kind of a spread for my parabola at the 2 than at the 1. But you know, you do as many as you feel. You know, you get the feel for where is the graph going. What am I looking for here as far as a slope, a curvature, and when you feel comfortable that you've had enough of that, then you go for it. So at 2, we had negative 2. Then the next one I thought maybe somebody would ask for is 68, because it's been a day since we did these, so this might be one of those things that you've forgotten. The first thing you want to do is figure out where your vertex is so that you have that HK value. So the vertex on this one, that highest point, is going to be at 1, 5. And we recognize that in order to write it in vertex form, you need to know what A is. So I already know what H and K are. I'm going to go ahead and put those 2 in. So this will be minus 1 and plus 5. But I don't know what A is. And so I have to figure out one other set of points that I could use in this. And I'm looking at this graph, and I'm really hoping for something nice, and I think that would be a good one to use right there. So the point 0, 4 would be a good point to use for our X and our Y. So this will be a 4 over here for the Y value, and then a 0. And then, of course, we follow the order of operations and solve for A. So 0 minus 1 is negative 1. When you square that, you get 1. So this is really 1A plus 5. So it becomes a one-stepper where all we have to do is subtract 5 from both sides, and we get an A value of negative 1. So it will be Y equals negative 1 times X minus 1 squared plus 5. But we all know we don't need that 1 there, and we need to simplify that out. So it'll be a negative X minus 1 squared plus 5. So again, you figure out what your vertex is, put that in for H and K, pick a point, a nice grid point on your graph to use for X and Y, and you solve for A. Those are the problems that I thought you might have a little difficulty with.